Well, we turn our eyes to all things real estate, and during its latest directors' meeting on June 22, 2023, the Real Estate Board officially approved a series of policy amendments pertaining to industry operations and practitioners. These policy adjustments underwent thorough deliberations by the board, which were informed by legal counsel and examination of the legislative framework outlined in the Real Estate Dealers and the Developers Act, and consultations were also done with the relevant stakeholders, as well as the board's own observations and evaluations of the industry. Well, let us understand what these changes are, why they were implemented, and how they will change things. We have with us to discuss the legal officer of the Real Estate Board, Mr. Jared Johnson. Good morning, sir.
Yes, morning, Sir Bernard. Nice to speak to you again in this forum.
How are you, man?
I'm quite fine. How are you?
I'm good, man. Well, take us through the amendments now. What changes?
Yes, certainly. So, as you and many of your listeners would know, the Real Estate Board is the primary regulator of real estate business in Jamaica. And it, of course, does so in keeping in mind two very important pieces of legislation that you alluded to, the Real Estate Dealers and Developers Act, as well as the Real Estate Dealers and Developers Regulations. So the board achieves its regulation by continually implementing and reviewing its policies as is necessary, following the same consultations with industry professionals, members of the public, and also in conducting its own research into the state of the industry. So most recently, as you would have made reference to, there are three specific changes in policy that were announced. I'm going to just go over them for your listeners this morning for their benefit. First, on the issue of dormancy. So in the regulations, there's a mechanism known as dormancy. What that means is, as a real estate dealer, if you do not intend to practice real estate business in a given year, you can actually opt to place your license on dormancy. And how that works is that for that year, you would pay a reduced fee compared to if your license was renewed as active. Now, another thing that I have to explain is the concept of an individual real estate dealer qualifying a dealer company. Now, a dealer who is qualified and registered by the RED can actually sit on the board of directors of a company and thereby qualify that company as a dealer company. In the past, the policy of the board has been to require persons who qualify those companies to place their individual license on dormancy in order to do so. But that is no longer the case. In a welcome change to policy, the dealers who sit as qualifying directors for a dealer company can now opt to either keep their license active to practice in their individual capacity, or they can place it on dormancy, keep it dormant for that period. So that's one change that was quite welcome by our stakeholders. Next up, there's a change in the policy on supervising dealers and their eligibility criteria. Now, one of the things that you have to undergo when you're applying to become registered and licensed as a real estate dealer in Jamaica is that you have to do a mandatory 1-year period of attachment under a supervising dealer. That is sort of like an apprenticeship or an in-service training, as you might be familiar with that term, to get experience in real estate business before you can actually go off on your own and practice. So previously, a supervising dealer could only have a maximum of 2 prospective dealers under him or her attached. That has now been moved up to 4, which is a very welcome change to many persons in the industry. There's a new opportunity there for tutelage, for guidance, for impartation of knowledge. That's a welcome change. There are also revised eligibility criteria for those who can be approved by the board to actually become supervising dealers. And I'm just going to reel those off quickly for your listeners.
Yeah, man.
So first, they must complete the Real Estate Supervisory Dealers course, which is a continuing professional development course that's offered locally by the Real Estate Training Institute. Secondly, they have to hold a current dealer's license. Third, they have to have been a practicing dealer for at least 3 years. 4, they have to be fully compliant with their filings under the POCA, which is the Proceeds of Crime Act, as you know, and the TPA, which is the Terrorism Prevention Act. They have to not have any outstanding complaints lodged with the real estate board against him, her, or it in the case of a company. They have to have a registered office and display their registration certificate as well as their license within that office in keeping with their code of ethics. And they also finally, and perhaps most importantly, they have to have not been found to be in breach of the Real Estate Dealers and Developers Act or the Code of Ethics by the Real Estate Board. And that Real Estate Dealers course that I referred to earlier, which is the Supervisory Dealers course, will be offered over a course of 2 days once those dates are finalized. Day one of the course would be for all dealers so that they can get apprised of this new information. And day two will be targeted specifically to those persons who want to become supervisory dealers or who are already supervisory dealers so that they can become au fait with the new policy. And last, but certainly not least, there is a change in relation to the requirements for overseas dealers or brokers, as they're often called, who wish to become registered and licensed in Jamaica to practice real estate business. So previously, what the board would have done would have took into account the type of dealers or brokers licensed, as well as the number and the types of transactions that they would have performed. But now this new policy would require overseas dealers to complete their qualifications by undergoing a dealer's training course. And that course is definitely offered locally at the Real Estate Training Institute. And also, most importantly, those overseas dealers must also successfully complete the 1 year minimum attachment with a local dealer, the same type of supervisory dealer that I spoke about just now, before they can be fully licensed locally to practice. So that is also another change in our policy that, in a way, can serve to even the playing field, but also to maintain the integrity and standard of the real estate industry locally.
Mm-hmm. So that's really the underlying reason, the rationale behind these amendments.
Yes, certainly. So those three specific changes.
Mm-hmm. So when will these changes take effect?
Well, these changes actually are actually in the process of taking effect now because as a result of the recent meeting of the board of directors, they are now implemented. If the public wishes to know exactly what is required of them, they can definitely follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Real Estate Board. They can also check our website at www.reb.gov.jm. That's reb.gov.jm.
And repeat the social media handles as well?
Yeah, man, that's at Real Estate Board.
At Real Estate Board for Facebook, Instagram.
Yes, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram,
YouTube.
They can also call us at 876-926-9748-9, or they can leave us an email with their queries at info@reb.gov.jm.
Very well. So if they want to know the changes, they can go there and they can go on the website to see these new amendments, yeah?
Yes, these amendments are now live on the website. That's www.reb.gov.jm, and they can go ahead and see those changes in written form.
And if there are any queries, how can they reach the office?
Yeah, man. So our office is located at 24 Trafalgar Road, Kingston 10. I'll just repeat the phone number for those who want an opportunity to take it down. 876-926-9748-9. And they can, of course, email us at info@reb.gov.jm.
Very well. Well, a slew of amendments in order to make the profession as it is, more competent and, of course, give significant benefit to the public, as you just said, Jared. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Have a good one.
All right.
That's all things real estate. We go for the break. We come back with your birthdays.